After Adolf Hitler came to power, he implemented many changes in Germany. In the Enabling Act, passed on March 23, 1933, giving Hitler dictatorial power and control over the public, economic, and military aspects of society, he had full control. Its full name was the Law to Remedy the Distress of the People and the Reich. Hitler also enacted the Nuremberg Laws, which were the anti-Semitic and racist laws that were enacted in Nazi Germany on September 15, 1935. The National Socialist German Workers' Party, or NSDAP, also called the Nazi Party, was the only political party allowed in Germany. The law created a scale of just how Jewish a person was, from full Jew, half Jews, quarter Jews, using the derogatory term Mischlinge, meaning half-breed, mongrel, or hybrid. Jews were not targeted for their faith because they had been reclassified as a race and persecuted for not being of pure Aryan blood. How did some Germans classified as Jews avoid being targeted and remain in the military? Who were these men, and what were their ranks and positions? What did they and others in Germany really know about the concentration and, later, the death camps? Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, former soldier, Marine Corps scout sniper, history professor, historian and book author, and we will answer these questions and other issues on this segment of Forgotten History. In his groundbreaking book, Hitler's Jewish Soldiers, the untold story of Nazi racial laws and men of Jewish descent in the German military, released in 2002. After many years of research and interviews, former history professor and historian Dr. Brian Mark Rigg exposed the hypocrisy of Nazi laws and legal doctrine. As Rigg stated, quote, "Thousands of men of Jewish descent and hundreds of what the Nazis called full Jews served in the military with Hitler's knowledge. The Nazis allowed these men to serve, but at the same time exterminated their families. Hitler loathed Jews, but what he also needed was experienced commanders and fighters." What's fascinating is how involved Hitler was in the screening process. At the height of the war, he was personally deciding whether this private or that should be of German blood. End quote. Jewish children could not attend German schools or play on sports teams, and they were not allowed to leave the country at first, although many were encouraged to do so later, but could not take their money with them. Jews soon had their businesses and homes confiscated. One of these laws, the law of the Reich citizen, deprived Jews of German citizenship, designating them subjects of the state. Also, the law for the protection of German blood and German honor, usually called simply the Blood Protection Law, forbade marriage or sexual relations between Jews and Aryans or citizens of German or kindred blood. German Jews lost their jobs. The military was purged of Jewish soldiers, sailors, and airmen, and doctors, lawyers, and others were removed from their professional positions, and eventually, over time, deported to the east, most to Poland, after the war started in 1939. Jews also had the letter J stamped into their passport for Jude. These measures were among the first of the racist Nazi laws that culminated in the Holocaust. But there were some Jews who were allowed to continue serving the Third Reich. Many Jews managed to hide their affiliation, but some were well known to be Jews, even if their families were converted Christians, going back several generations. Any soldier who wanted to be declared a German had to submit a complex application including photos of his head and body and skull measurements. Hitler would screen these photographs for a long time and decide whether the application was worthy of being an Aryan. Many Jews, some 100,000, served in the German military, many in secret, as their backgrounds escaped detection. Others were cleared and given Aryanization blood certificates due to their claim that their Jewish fathers were in fact not their fathers at all, often naming distant relatives or family acquaintances who were long dead and could not testify in courts. In 1942, when the Germans were losing in the East, Hitler started to revoke the initial rights he provided the Mischlings. On his orders, the Armed Forces High Command began dismissing almost half the Jews in the military. Only those half-Jewish officers who had earlier been declared to be of German blood were allowed to stay, But in late 1944, the majority of these officers were also removed. After the war, even the Jewish communities rejected them as being collaborators, even though they had no knowledge of the death camps, despite the fact that most, like the German population in general, knew nothing of the death camps abroad. They knew about concentration camps, basically prisons for those whom the government targeted for not going along with the program. But the extermination camps and policy was labeled top secret by Heinrich Himmler personally. Not even Hitler issued written or verbal orders on that issue, and the matter was never discussed as it was all on a need-to-know basis, which was established at the Wannsee Conference on January 20th, 1942. Some Jews even served in the Waffen-SS, such as SS Sergeant Heinz Löwen, who was killed in action, and his brother, Army Sergeant Joachim Löwen, also served. Adolf Hitler saw the value in keeping some men who were known to be Jewish in some degree, or were married to Jews. And this is a partial list. We'll highlight just a few of them. Former West German Chancellor and quarter Jew Helmut Schmidt was interviewed by Brian Rigg, and Schmidt served in the Luftwaffe as an anti-aircraft artilleryman. Field Marshal and State Secretary for Aviation Erhard Milch was an early member of the Nazi Party and considered so valuable his entire history was changed. Due to him having a Jewish father, in 1933 his mother Clara Milch provided an affidavit to her son-in-law, the police president of Hagen, and later SS General Fritz Heinrich Hermann. This document claimed that her deceased uncle, Karl Brauer, was the true father of her 6 children, not her Jewish husband, which was of course ridiculous. Milch was denounced as a Jew by SA Colonel Theo Kroneis. Reich Marshal Hermann Goering took the matter straight to Hitler, who declared Milch an Aryan. Another noteworthy person was quarter Jew Franz Mendelssohn, who was a Nazi Party member and a direct descendant of the Jewish philosopher Moses Mendelssohn, and he was a designer for German torpedo boats and also worked in design and building of U-boats, and was decorated with the War Cross Second Class. Half-Jew Colonel Walter H. Hollander received the German Blood Certificate and was highly decorated for combat heroism on the Eastern Front with the Knight's Cross for heroic actions on July 18, 1943. He also received the Iron Cross First and Second Class, the rare Close Combat Badge in bronze, the General Assault Badge, the Infantry Assault Badge, the Wound Badge in gold for 5 or more wounds, and the German Cross in gold. He was one of the most highly decorated Jews of the war. U-boat commander Captain Helmut Schmokel, who joined the Navy in 1936, was also an interesting character. In 1938, it was discovered that Schmokel's maternal grandfather was a full Jew, leading to his discharge from the service. Schmokel's father petitioned for his reinstatement, which was granted in July 1939. He served on the Olympia and cruiser Admiral Hipper before attending U-boat school. He took command of U-802 in December 1943 and sank one ship, the Watuka, of 1,621 tons, on March 22, 1944. He surrendered U-802 on May 11, 1945 at Loch Arable. He also earned the Iron Cross in both classes. Quarter Jew Colonel Felix Birkner was a German equestrian, and he competed in the individual dressage event at the 1912 Summer Olympics in Stockholm. He served in the cavalry in World War I, and in 1930 he founded the German Riding School in Berlin and prepared the German dressage national team for the 1936 Berlin Olympics, serving as team captain. During World War II, he was commander of the Heeresreit und Fahrschule at Hanover and later at Potsdam-Krampnitz. After World War II, he returned to Hanover, educating horses for other riders. Birkner won 14 German national titles. Half-Jew General Helmut Wilberg was a highly decorated World War I fighter pilot who became one of the primary air combat theoreticians. He was also instrumental, along with Erhard Milch, in helping to get the Luftwaffe built up and remove it from the restrictions of the Treaty of Versailles. He also commanded the Air War College and was a staff officer of the Condor Legion under Field Marshal Hugo Sperle during the Spanish Civil War. Half-Jew Major General Werner Reinhold Kurt Malzahn, who commanded the Mortar Rocket School and led regiments in Russia, lost his Jewish mother, half-sister, and 2 nieces in the Holocaust, but he did not know what had happened to them until after the war. Colonel General Gotthard Feder August Heinrici, was a World War I veteran and married to a half-Jewish woman named Gertrude, and she and their children Hartmut and Gisela were declared Aryans by Hitler. Heinrici was one of Germany's best generals, a master of defensive operations, so Hitler also saw his value. He was awarded the Knight's Cross with oak leaves and swords. Another luminary was quarter Jew Admiral Bernhard Rogge, with a very unique career, and as an example, he served in the Navy in World War I, and later during World War II became a vice admiral. His greatest claim to fame was when he commanded the surface raider Atlantis, which hunted down enemy merchant ships in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. Rogge constantly disguised his ship, changing the appearance and identity to avoid Allied detection, and by the time Atlantis was itself sunk, Rogge had sunk 16 ships for 106,227 tons and captured 6 more ships of 38,137 tons, or a total of 22 ships for 144,364 gross tons. Rogge received the Knight's Cross with oak leaves and both Iron Crosses. He retired as a Rear Admiral in the West German Navy after the war. We hope you enjoyed this segment of Forgotten History. Please click like and subscribe for free. And please stay tuned and be engaged and informed. Send us comments if you have questions or even show ideas, and we will respond to all requests and comments as soon as we can. Thank you.